Well, welcome back, Therapy Flow community. We're in for a hot topic today. I think one that's really going to deliver some value. If you read the newsletter this morning, if you're not on it, you can access it through our website or some other places. I got a lot of responses today, saying it was fire or this was new information. So stick around. We're going to go through three major segments, and all of it is to help you save time on a weekly basis on your marketing. So we want you to have to spend less time on marketing. We like marketing. We like helping our practice owners market. But at the end of the day, two things are true. I'm agnostic for how you market your practice. If you're able to successfully get the amount of quality clients that you need for whatever your goals are, however you do that, great. We have some strategies and some processes that we would recommend to do that, but however it happens, awesome. I don't actually care. And you shouldn't care either to some degree. Step two is if you can spend less time having to get that clients, that's also better for everyone, especially you, the practice owner, and your team. And so that's what we're hoping to accomplish today. Show you some better and some frameworks to get more clients from marketing. These are going to be some like principles, philosophy, strategies that we've really never covered in this group before, especially when we start to get to some of the breakdown hour to hour, minute to minute segment recommendations. And number two, we're gonna just share some processes to make your life easier. So let's go.
Yeah. First, we got to get started with the 5 major marketing methods all private practices typically use here. So, guys, we've been in the space for quite some time, and we can say pretty confidently these are sort of like the really big buckets. Okay. Number one is going to be your directory sites. This is going to be like your Psych Today. This is going to be like your ZocDoc. And I think I might also throw inside of directory sites here if you're in any insurance panels, that also kind of works like a directory site, right? You're listed, you're accepting that type of insurance. So all these sites have one big thing in common. And the big thing is you don't really control them, right? You just kind of put yourself up there. There's maybe a few things you can kind of control, like your bio, maybe like your headshot or something like that. And then those directory sites just kind of rotate you according to certain algorithms and stuff like that above our pay grade. The next big place that private practices tend to focus their time, money, and energy is something like paid advertisement. The big ones here are going to be like Google ads or that like Facebook, Instagram, those meta ads. These ads, pretty straightforward. You spend money instead of time, which is always helpful for the busy private practice owner or the private practice owner that just wants to move faster. If you're impatient like me, we like to move. We like a little speed here. All right. We like a little speed. We're okay with spending a little bit of dollars to move a little bit faster. Then there's going to be things like your website. And typically, when we're talking about website as a marketing mechanism, this is sort of the landing spot for people who are just searching on Google and sometimes Bing, really. So Google search engine optimization is how you're getting traffic, how you're marketing your website, and that's how you're getting traffic typically to your website. There's a few other ways to get a little bit of traffic over to your site, but usually those are the big ones. Then there's going to be items like networking. This is going to be like your referral partners. This is going to be people you met at your BNI, and they said that they've got a crazy aunt who needs a little help. It's going to be your networking. Then items like social media. When I used to do networking a lot, there was a therapist in our group, and he always used to call out the crazy aunt. I was like,
There we go.
right, yep. And then there's social media. So social media, this is like just creating content in some capacity and posting, right? Getting attention to yourself, to your brand by producing content. And then there's everything else, right? This is sort of the catch-all bucket. I love the street corner with one of those flappy guys note on the newsletter. So this is just everything else that you can kind of think of in marketing. Anything you've ever been told that could work or might work may just fit inside of this bucket.
These are kind of the 5 major food groups of marketing in the private practice world. If we take a step back, there's 3 major categories here. There's organic, there is paid, and there is referrals. That's these are the kind of the larger buckets. A directory site is an organic strategy. You're trying to post, and yeah, maybe it costs you a couple bucks to be on the site, but it's largely someone else driving traffic. Same with social media. That's an organic strategy. You're posting content. Someone else is trying to deliver views, the platform, the process. SEO is actually even an organic strategy, versus like Google or Facebook or ZocDoc. Those would be paid strategies. And then referrals, networking, getting physical word of mouth referrals, those are referral or network strategies. And so, we can break them deeper there. I think one of the hidden gems that keeps the larger the practice gets, the more this kind of does for them, which is the impact of actual physical word of mouth referrals. When you see 400 sessions a week, 1,000 sessions a week, because you have a larger group practice, you're going to get a much higher volume of referrals of other clients talking about you, going through. So I think we see a lot of practices once they get at the 10, 15, 20 clinician rate, they get some really strong positive momentum from the amount of inquiries that they just get from word of mouth referrals. And so this is really a simple tip or caveat. If you want to not have to spend as much time marketing physically and going after trying to get your name out there, improve the quality of your service, improve the quality of the way that your clinicians deliver service, because people, that's what they talk about, and that's what they tell their friends and their family members. And maybe just get bigger, because a practice with 4 clinicians doesn't get as many referrals as a practice with 15 clinicians. So get more word of mouth referrals, and that will automatically happen if you have a larger practice.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I think a lot of practice owners don't think about, is just like the size and the impact. Size also helps you on some of those directory sites. If you're paying for, 30 spots on those directory sites, you have a much larger just footprint, right? Which is sort of the thing that nobody talks about with marketing, and it's really just attention, right? So if you're looking at things like social media or even paid ads, could you imagine if everyone, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but could you imagine if 30 counselors were all posting on social media for you? That would be a really, really big footprint. Just like if 30 counselors were writing a blog every month for you, that'd be a really big content footprint for your website. And so, not that you should do that. There's definitely better ways than trying to herd the cats, which are your therapists, while you're kind of doing your marketing here. But growing larger is kind of an interesting way to look at size and sort of the economy of your business. It's kind of like the replacement even for certain paid ad spend and a few other things. So
those first 5, they drive about 90% of the traffic for almost every practice we see, we talk to, we work with. And so those are the main focus points of, hey, that's 80 to 90% of the equation. We can get most of the inquiries we want just from that alone. Really, I think it's important to talk about what we see often, which is referral, feast and then famine, and then feast and then famine. And it's a pretty vicious cycle that maybe you have found yourself on, where you have this massive need for new clients. So you start to look at one of those categories or even all 5 categories, and you work to get up your website and start SEO and maybe run a paid ad and improve your Psychology Today listing. And then you go to all the networking events, and it works. It works. You start to get new inquiries, you start to get new clients, your team starts to fill up. And then what happens is 2 things. The pain of you having 0 clients coming in, 0 inquiry comes in, starts to fade. So if you have half of a full caseload or 2/3 of the full caseload, that's very much not anywhere near as painful, right? You're like, oh, I can pay my bills at 17 sessions a week. I can pay my bills, and my therapists aren't complaining anymore if everyone is full at 75 to 80% capacity, but we're missing a quarter of the revenue we could actually get because the pain has gone away. And this is the even more detrimental thing, is now that, we have suddenly 15 hours of extra week of work because we're actually doing physical sessions, or we have way more management work and billing work and admin work in our group practice because everyone's mostly full. Suddenly our time constricts, our energy constricts massively, and we stop doing all of the marketing activities before, and maybe they have sort of a run rate, right? If you eat a really big meal, you're not going to starve to death that day or the next couple days if you do a ton of marketing work. But if we don't ever eat again, if we totally stop consistent marketing activities, we're going to get hungry. Your practice is going to start starving, and you're gonna just find yourself, in absolute famine when it comes to new clients. And we see practice after practice of all sizes go through this cycle again and again and again.
I'm going to say something maybe a little bit controversial here, but this, to me, this also extends to the seasonality of therapy services. And I say that because oftentimes we'll hear our clients talk about, the summer slump, or referrals tanking in December, and all the season, or any season that you can imagine. What we typically see, and guys, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad dollars. We've seen conversion rates over years of spending dollars, and there's really not much seasonality. I think where this comes from is a correlation between maybe more cancellations and inquiries, and that's not the case. And so what I'd encourage you to do is, even when you don't think you should have the habit, you probably should just have that habit. And the habit I'm talking about here is marketing. So getting attention on your brand, getting attention on your practice, getting attention on your clinicians is going to pay you dividends. So when other people are pulling back, you can keep leaning in and stay consistent and prove to the market that you are there. So every time someone brings up seasonality, I bring up our huge Google MCC that shows all the Google clients that we're connected to, and they're asking, do you have a decrease in conversions? And there's never a decrease in conversions. And so I'll encourage you guys, this doesn't have to be feast and famine. You don't have to stop and start. You just have to put the right rhythms in place.
We could spend a lot of time talking about the season. Mind is, fishing in the summertime in the Midwest, and fishing in the wintertime. Very different experiences. One is ice fishing and one is boat fishing. But at the end of the day, the same fish are at the bottom of the lake. We just have to figure out how to access. That's a little bit how the seasonality goes. Is there's more than enough people looking for therapeutic services at all times of the year. How we have to access them is a little bit different. And yes, your current active clients transition. And I think sometimes that's because we don't prepare our practice clients for the transition, and we don't do the administrative connective tissue work to retain sessions and other things. Yes, there's some holiday transition stuff. Yes, there's some summer transition stuff. Volume of available clients to keep your team full is always available. We have people sign year inside of our programs and our marketing services, and we help them get results in December, results in January, and so forth. So what we really want to do is talk about the difference between building marketing and sustaining marketing. And the model needs to kind of be implanted in your approach to all parts of your practice, but especially when we talk about marketing. What it takes to maintain consistent marketing is very different. It's actually a very low threshold. You 5 hours a week for even some of the largest practices. Anyone on your team, if you do it correctly, 1 to 5 hours a week, just managing and sustaining the marketing you currently have. Truly, you need to do and you need to understand how to build successful infrastructure of marketing. Attilio, what are some of the main core tenets of a build out for a practice?
Yeah, I'd say really there's three big parts. And one is, how are you getting the attention? Where are you sending the attention? And then how are you using that feedback to improve the process? So as for like that's the infrastructure, that's the system you need to create. That's how I would look at it. It's a little flywheel. So where are you getting the attention? Where are you sending them, or what are they doing? And then how are you improving the system? It's never going to work the first time. I mean, very rarely you see that someone just like launches something, maybe with a little help, you can launch something and get it kind of working. But typically that's what I'd stick to that sort of flywheel. Okay.
Yeah. So when we're talking about physical assets of like how are we getting the attention, it's kind of the list we went through. You need to build a website, you need a listing site profile and maybe a template to give your counselors. You need a landing page to send traffic to or a service page. And maybe you need a social media strategy and a networking framework or strategy if those are things that you want to do. I don't want to oversimplify it, but like that's the fundamental list. A house, right? A house has a bedroom you can, a kitchen you can cook in, has a living room you can sit in. Maybe it has a garage that you can park your car in if you're lucky. If you're in Chicago, it's on the street all day, every day. I'm only a little bitter about that. But with this, we have to understand that we have to build the house. We have to get the house. Some of you are constantly building your house. You never finish your website, or you do finish your website and then you've never actually closed the door on it. You still think that it's in the construction phase. Construction is messy, it's difficult, it's time intensive, and so if you're in the constant build out phase of your marketing, if you've never worked with a company like ours or worked through it all yourself to get all of your assets in place quickly and in the correct order, you're never set up for success. You don't have a working home. Your kitchen isn't functional. The plumbing doesn't work. Use the living room as best as you can because your couch, is at least in there. And so we need to get your assets to the finish line. And once you do, then we can talk about, hey, what are the habits weekly that we can do to just sustain this all, right? It's mowing the grass, it's doing the bathroom. It shouldn't take you a lot of time to like manage your house, but when done correctly, it will stand the test of time.
I'll give you guys a quick like critical thinking exercise. And I think this is an important example for those of you who have built a website and it didn't work. And so you spent a lot of time and money maybe on something. And you're like, this is not getting me what I wanted. Right? I was expecting that I built the thing or I made the post and I was gonna get referrals. And so the way that I would look at this is compartmentalize what that thing should do. So think critically, what is it that this thing should do? And so if you're thinking about your website, for example, your site is an element that just houses people, right? People land on your site, and that's where I think we just lost Josh, but he'll be right back. The site is where people land, right? That's not how you're naturally or innately getting attention. So people will come to your website maybe from directory links. People will come to your website maybe from posting on social media. People will come to your website from SEO or organic search. So they might come to your website from ads. So think about it like that. Is this a traffic thing that I'm focusing on? Is this a conversion event that I'm focusing on? Or is this maybe the feedback cycle? And how can you split that up? The more that you can split that up, the more you'll be able to critically think on what it is that needs to happen so that you can be successful in that element of the flywheel. And so what I'd consider as you're going through this process is build something, do it, right? Push it out, ship it. You would be surprised at how simple something can be and still work. And so ship the thing, okay? Just do it, get it out there, and hurry up, speed your way to the feedback loop process. Once you're getting attention, once you're seeing people hit the thing that they need to hit, so hitting your website, then you can say, what did I learn from all of this? What do I need to fix or change? So ship it, fix it, and get yourself out of the perpetual build phase, right? You want to build something, build the two elements, get feedback, improve. Get feedback, improve. The faster you do that in a controlled way, the better you're going to find yourself in the position where you just end up having to do the dishes and cutting the lawn, going into maintenance mode, really reducing the time and energy and possibly even resources that it would take to find success with those things that you're putting rhythms towards.
100%. So let me quickly walk us through the 5 hour a week kind of sustained marketing framework. Um, this isn't hard and fast times. You can spend a little bit more, you can spend a little bit less. Some will be faster at this than others. You'll get faster over time. So that's a big asterisk is maybe it takes you more than 5 hours the first couple weeks to do all the appropriate actions, but you will get way faster over time. You can pull in team members, but the goal is to do some level of consistency against some level of time and speed up the volume that you get done within that framework. So let's start with just like website and SEO. You can probably spend only about 60 minutes a week on this, maybe less, depending on how fast of a writer you are or who's doing this. But you can probably pound out 1 to 2 blogs in a 60-minute frame. My recommendation is 2 to 3 of the weeks in the month. You try and get 4 to 6 blogs done, articles done in those 3 weeks, and then about once a month you are making site changes, edits, backlinks, looking at meta tags, just like cleaning things up in the physical website as best as you can to make sure it follows those rhythms, maybe securing backlinks, some of those things. Really, the goal for SEO is slow and steady wins the race. 80% of the equation right now is probably doing somewhere between 6 and 8 articles on a month, depending on how competitive your area is. And that's what you should be optimizing for on a time level. Looking at something like paid ads, once the paid ad is built and up and running, you probably need to just take about 15 minutes 2 to 4 times a week just to look at it, make some small tweaks. Maybe if it's Google ads, add in some negative keywords, tag some positive things, maybe make some small changes if everything's going well. And then maybe about 30 to 60 minutes a week, you sit down one time and you make some changes to your landing page, or you start to work on a new campaign to launch and you do some more of the pragmatic building. Really recommending about 60 to 90 minutes a week ongoing if you're running paid ads. Give you a secret: when we used to run done for you Google ad campaigns for tons and tons of therapy practices, they usually got allocated about an hour to 2 hours of total time spent on their account week to week. Like truly. And that's how most done for you agencies do it and service tons of accounts. So if they can do it, you can do it. Anything to add there, Tilio?
Yeah, I wanna. I'll put emphasis on the asterisks that you had. Right. It's really funny how often someone will show up to my coaching call and I'll give them the instructions on like what to do, and it takes like all of 5 to 10 minutes, and like you sit down, do it, and when like not saying that you have to become an expert, but if you're an expert, you can really nail this like in almost zero time, right? You see something, you make the edit, you wait a week, right? You wait for the data, you wait for the feedback. And I think the enemy here, the enemy for your time in this segment, the enemy for the 5 hour marketing week is going to be making frantic changes or going rogue to your main strategy.
Yeah.
If you're frantic and you make big massive changes, that's essentially like you just rebuilt the house, right? So go into it, know that you're going in and you're just going to work the plumbing, right? The first time you take the trip to the well and get the bucket of water and bring it all the way back up to the hill, maybe you have half the bucket full, but then the third time and the 10th time and the 20th time, you're going to get more and more of that bucket of water up the hill as you sort of learn where the treacherous spots are and you kind of get where the dips are. And so think of it like that. So don't become frantic. Don't go rogue on your original strategy and try to change and rebuild things. And the tighter you get and the more restricted you are, the better these times are going to get.
It's true. Directory sites, you could probably spend less than 20 minutes a week on this, whether you're making you or your physical counselors. Just take a look at your profile. Literally make some small changes, make some small updates, tweaks. If you do what we call like a swap out strategy, to feature different types of profiles on your own account or zip codes, once a week, just swap it out. It doesn't take that much time to copy and paste that text, but it's going to keep it and just make sure that you don't end up a year or 2 years later with a profile that you hate. You're like, oh my gosh, and then you have to spend an entire weekend rewriting it. And then networking, maybe about 90-ish minutes a week if you really want to go hard on this. If you spent 90 minutes a week on networking,
That's a lot. Oh, we might have lost Josh.
I think on a net.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Josh, we got you. He might have dropped again, guys.
With send outbound.
Oh, there we
go. Was I out or was you out?
I thought you were out.
I probably was out. I don't know what's going on with my internet today. It must be the sunny day outside or something.
Solar maximum. Yeah, networking.
A find, a send, a follow up. Do those 3 actions 3 times a week for 30-minute segments. Truly, find someone to reach out to them, and then follow up with 1 or 2 people you previously were in contact with. I've done that for a couple years now. For me and any of the practices that have followed it. And then lastly, social media. You can get some really great social media content out for under an hour a week. Right now, video is kind of king. So those cutesy little flat Instagram images, not driving new clients in the way that you want. So maybe stay away from social media unless you want to play the game how it's meant to be played right now, which is either long form or short form content with maybe some extra stuff pointing to the content and the assets that you're creating. The way we do it, we do 1 live a week. We take this 20 to 30-minute video, we pull a couple segments out of it and post it as short form content. We give people the replay, and we make some posts and announcements about it, and takes us about a total of an hour-ish a week to do some really good social media content and some expert process here. And you can do the same. Social media can certainly be a massive black hole. I'd say 9 out of every 10 counselors, maybe more, that we work with of all practice sizes typically aren't using social media as a significant channel of getting new clients.
Yeah, I think what's kind of important before continuing on to the end here is, once you kind of build it and you've done it and you sort of write out the protocol for it, delegate this out to a team member. Okay. So delegate this out to a team member, or if you're having to do it for financial restrictions or otherwise, that's fine. Once you have the protocol, you're going to keep getting better at it, and you're going to keep iterating and improving, and you're going to find what works and what doesn't. Yeah. Also, in these time segments, allocate just a little bit of it, budget just a bit of it to look at that data and synthesize what's happening. Hey, last week I made this change. This week I did things a little bit different. Did anything change? Is it working the way that I need it to work? And so inside of this, budget just a little bit of time, look at the data, make sure you're tracking in a helpful way. So you, as the business owner, you want to track in a way that you can get data and make good decisions, right? No one's going to look out for you. Google is not going to look out for you. Google wants to spend your money ultimately. And so look out for yourself by tracking, following data, and making data-driven decisions. And I'll go ahead and run into the end here, but there's a couple really secret items from this whole list, guys. You don't need to do all of these. In fact, most practices that are like really under 20 or 30 clinicians end up just doing 2 or 3 of these, and they just do it well, right? They stay consistent, they do it well, they maybe have a protocol for it, they have a team member managing or doing it, and that's that, right? It's a very easy way to kind of push it off. You just look at the data once a week for 15 minutes or something, and then adjust the strategy, right? Course correct. Staying consistent is way more important than the quality of the initial marketing build out. So stay consistent, go through that flywheel that we discussed. If you're hitting that attention, conversion event, and then feedback and improvements, you're going to outperform the person who has that expert marketer that just did their one-time build out, did their one-time Google SEO optimization. We just see it time and again, where the practices that are consistent, practices that are just on top of iterating, are the ones that win. And
I'll give one side comment. I think I hear often, oh, I used to run Google ads, but I stopped. Or I used to post all the time with blogging, but I stopped. And then usually 2 minutes later, I just don't know why I'm not getting the inquiries that I used to get. That goes back to the feast and the famine. being consistent, making sure you eat the equivalent of 3 meals a day. You have to do the grocery shopping so you can make the 3 meals and eat the 3 meals. It's a rhythm, it's a process, but it will make you successful and it will make sure you never go hungry for new clients.
In that vein, too, you're the business owner, which means you're also the tastemaker for all of this, right? You decide what the expectations are. You decide what is a quality result. You decide that. Sometimes you need to manage your expectations right, and sometimes you need to set higher expectations, maybe for yourself or for your team. So keep that in mind. You are the tastemaker, which is kind of annoying sometimes, especially if you don't know what taste it's supposed to taste like. I'll also say too, no one's stopping you at just 5 hours, right? And so it's okay to be proud that you're working hard for a season, right? Working hard and working smart is the secret sauce. And so if you're working hard and working smart, you're going to end up with the intended result that you're looking for.
For sure. There's no magic bullet. And if there was a magic bullet, it would be a million small little ones over and over and over again, shot in the right direction. Um, so with that, if you need more contextual help, especially for things like Google Ads or build out or other related things, to get you to the finish line of infrastructure, how should it look? How should it sound? What should it be like? And on the list goes, let us know. Reach out. That's what we do all day, every day in our maps and our growth sprint program for group practices and solo practices. So we'll catch you next week, guys. Thanks for being here.